In the headlines, CBN breaks silence on Naira deadline, vows to sanction POS operators for prohibitive charges. INEC FCT Resident Electoral Commission assures of preparedness, says cash unavailability remains a challenge. AFCC says looters of state resources behind sack calls of its chairman. And on the foreign scene, 8,000 saved from Turkey-Syria earthquake rubble as death toll tops 37,000. Hello and welcome to Trust News Update. I'm Darshan Husseina Usman. Now the news in detail. The governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, says there is no need to shift the February 10 deadline for the use of the old Naira notes as the Apex Bank will address the new notes supply shortage. Emefiele disclosed this while briefing the diplomatic community at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Abuja on Tuesday. The clarification is coming on the heels of uncertainty over the Supreme Court order, which extended the deadline to February 15, pending hearing on the matter. Nigerians have been thrown into confusion as commercial banks refuse to take the old notes at their branches on Monday. Emefiele, who acknowledged the suffering of Nigerians due to the policy, however, noted that the effective implementation could scrap 4% of the inflation numbers. Meanwhile, the Central Bank of Nigeria has vowed to prosecute point-of-sale operators who collect exorbitant charges for transactions. The CBN Governor, Godwin Emefiele, said this on Tuesday in his meeting with members of Diplomatic Corps. While acknowledging the inconveniences caused by the Naira redesign policy, including hoarding and an elevated agitation, Emefiele promised to prosecute POS operators who charge above the stipulated amount. Emefiele admitted that while these are challenging times for Nigerians, they shouldn't be exaggerated, especially by people in authority, to create panic. The discontent arising from the scarcity of Naira notes continue to grow across the country. Fruit sellers in Gombe State say the cashless policy is affecting their businesses negatively. Trust TV's Ibrahim Ismail says the fruit sellers are struggling to grasp transacting in a cashless business environment. The report.
Scarcity of the Naira notes is punching hard on small-scale businesses in Gombe State. Some of these adversely affected are traders of perishable goods. Saadu Salisu is a fruit seller in Gombe Metropolis. He said scarcity of the Naira is taking a toll on his businesses and he does not have access to mobile banking. The reason why I don't receive transfer is that I don't have an account, and this has been affecting our businesses seriously. Our business services have dwindled by almost 50%. We pray that God will help us to have something to feed our families. Other fruit sellers agree that life has been very difficult since the unveiling of the cash swap policy program. The customers insist on paying through bank transfer always, and my bank account has some problem. I don't used to see alert. The policy has affected our businesses. Customers always prefer transfer, and if they did, we can't get the cash at hand, and I'll have nothing to go and buy new products. And the village people don't have accounts. You can't do mobile banking transfer to buy the fruit from the villagers. It can't happen. This is a setback to our business. Scarcity of the Naira and ineffective mobile banking services is worsening the already harsh economic conditions these Nigerians have to contend with. From Gombe, Ibrahim Ismail reporting for Trust TV.
President Muhammadu Buhari has been advised to urgently take appropriate steps to address the Naira scarcity in the country before it ruins the nation's economy. The chief whip of Osun State House of Assembly, Babatunde Lekan Olatunji, who gave the advice, lamented that the naira scarcity has disrupted many businesses and subjected Nigerians to untold hardship. Olatunji, who represents Ife North State constituency, posited that the naira redesign is a good policy, but faulted the implementation and appealed to President Buhari to act on time to end the sufferings of Nigerians, especially the downtrodden.
It is not enough for the CBN to have a very good intention. There is that burden on CBN to ensure that implementation of the policy is as good as the intention in itself. Someone once said that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So it is not just about designing a program, it's about ensuring that in the course of implementing that program, the purpose for which it was designed is met in the overall interest of the people. And of course, what Nigeria is actually trying to do with naira redesigning is not novel. We are not the first country in the world that will implement that.
The Independent National Electoral Resident Electoral Commissioner in charge of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, Yahaya Bello, has reaffirmed to Nigerians the Commission's readiness for the 2023 general elections, but said that cash is the only challenge they will face in paying ad hoc staff during the election. Bello stated this at a North Central Stakeholder Roundtable on the 2023 general elections. Noel Sampson reports.
The FCT rec, Yahaya Bello, said the scarcity of naira, which makes cash unavailable, is one of the challenges the Commission is facing, though it is not peculiar to the FCT. He however reassured stakeholders that the Commission's chairman is meeting with all available stakeholders to make sure the problem is solved ahead of the elections.
The Commission has made a lot of preparations. A lot of the materials we needed, we already got them. We have done some trainings. We are doing more trainings. We have made a lot of consultation with stakeholders. We have moved, a lot of materials and batched them to the area councils, which is the local government level. When you talk about the challenge, believe me sincerely, the challenge to this election, as we are going about now, in the FCT, and by and large, I believe all over the nation, is a cash policy.
Is to have an interaction with the main stakeholders in the electoral circle, for instance, security agents, religious leaders, the political class, and voters themselves, including INEC, to judge on the preparation towards the election. Now, this is one of the activities we are embarked on as an organization across the 6 geopolitical zone. Luckily for us, this is the last and the final one that we're having. And it seems that the reports we're getting and feelers we're getting from all of the zones seem to be the same thing. Citizens are concerned about their security. Citizens are concerned about the role of the political class in ensuring that when they come out on election day, that their votes will count.
The meeting provided opportunity for stakeholders to discuss problems and profile solutions.
It's a mandate to me, as in it's an opportunity for me, especially we the OIs, the original inhabitants of FCT, because most of our people live in the rural area. It's an opportunity for me, as in to grab a knowledge here, to take it down to them, to create awareness for them, despite the fact that election is around the corner.
The election is a very critical time in the affairs of every nation, most especially Nigeria, that is the giant of Africa. Today we have been made to understand that the election in Nigeria is not just about Nigeria, because the population of voters in Nigeria is equal to the population of the other nations in West Africa put together. That means this election is not just a national election, it's like the whole Central Africa.
The Electoral Commission has been meeting with critical stakeholders with a view to having a free, fair, and credible election. Noel Sampson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Still on electoral matters, an election-focused group comprising of experts have painted possible scenarios from the forthcoming elections, asking politicians not to indulge in divisive rhetoric that will further polarize the country. At an interactive session organized by Media Trust, the experts advised electorates to consider merit, not primordial sentiments, while making electoral choice. Kabir Lawal has more.
This year's general election is few days away, and the Media Trust Group convened the interactive forum for experts from various fields to discuss on issues and come up with different scenarios on the likely outcomes of the polls. Members of the discussion panel called on politicians not to be power drunk, but see themselves as elected to serve the people. Professor Jibril Ibrahim speaks further.
Power is enormous, and the capacity to do harm or to do good is enormous, and therefore the struggle for those seats become really a fight to finish.
Jide Ojo, a political commentator, said that elections are successful when the process is transparent to allow people accept the outcome.
Youth will determine to a very large extent the electoral outcome of 2023 general elections. Because when you had about 40% of Nigerian registered voters who are 18 to 34, and you had that to the 35 to 49 who are middle age, that gives you over 75% of the voting population.
The panel members called on politicians to provide the voting public with adequate and honest information on their policies and programs for them to make democratic choice.
Yes, I think it is because of the agitation for inclusiveness. The agitation for inclusiveness is usually driven by elite women, and they usually do so in their own interest. So they have been canvassing for 35% so that they are the ones at the end of the day that will come and get such positions.
The panel then called on electorate not to consider ethnicity, religion, and region or monetary incentives as they go out to vote in the 2023 general elections. Kabir Lawal, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Ahead of the 2023 general elections scheduled to kick off on February 25 across the country, the Inspector General of Police, Usman Al-Ali Baba, on Monday disclosed that the police have intelligence that Oduduwa Nation agitators have been amassing weapons and mobilizing resources towards disrupting the peace, security, and electoral process in the southwest geopolitical zone. Baba made the revelation while addressing commissioners of police and assistant inspectors general of police ahead of the elections. He said illegal small arms and light weapons trafficking are being utilized to advance political violence, political extremism, and intolerance, while cyberbullying for political ends is on the rise daily. The police boss tasked the strategic police managers to safeguard the public space for elections in active synergy with other security agencies. The IGP also warned all officers to remain apolitical to ensure free, fair, and credible elections. Ahead of the February 25 and March 11 elections, the federal government has ordered the closure of all polytechnics in the country. The directive was issued by the Minister of Education, Adamu, in a letter signed by an official of the ministry, I.O. Folorunshaw. The letter, which was made available to journalists in Abuja, was addressed to the Executive Secretary of the National Board for Technical Education, Idris Bugaje. The minister directed that the instruction be conveyed to rectors and provosts of all polytechnics, adding that academic activities should be stopped between February 22nd and March 14th, 2023. The National Universities Commission had ordered the closure of universities across the country within the same period to enable students to participate in the February 25th and March 11th general elections. You're watching News Update. Coming up after the break. how Naira's scarcity puts a damper on Valentine's Day celebration. Stay with us.
Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Now, as part of efforts to support Africa's goal of strengthening...
Now, looking at the activity chart, as you can see right here, a total volume of 130...
Created a Boko Haram crisis that at that time was restricted to Yobe.
How secure are they? You can see security men with blood.
This is the road leading up to the...
Or really, if you look at English squad, you are looking at EPL, you are looking at their names. You are not looking at...
Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. If you're just joining us, you're watching Trust News Update, a recap of our top stories. We told you that CBN breaks silence on Naira deadline, vows to sanction POS operators for prohibitive charges. You also heard that INEC FCT Resident Electoral Commission assures of preparedness, says cash unavailability remains a challenge. Moving to other stories, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission on Tuesday took a swipe at civil society organizations demanding the sack of its chairman, Abdurrashid Bawa, over alleged contempt of court. The anti-graft agency called on the Nigerian public to disregard the protests, which it alleged were being sponsored by persons under investigation. The EFCC said it will not be distracted by plots to derail the commission from doing its work. Addressing journalists at the headquarters of the commission in Abuja, the spokesman for the anti-graft agency, Wilson Uwujaren, maintained that those demanding Bawa's sack would fail, as the commission has never and will not take any step that would undermine the judiciary. Residents of Makurdi, the Benue State capital, have lamented the lull that characterized the 2023 Valentine's Day celebrations in the state. According to them, the cash crisis occasioned by the CBN New Naira Notes policy negatively affected the glitz and glamour that usually comes with the day. Jimmy Adzande reports.
The usual glamour that graced Valentine's Day was not seen in most of the places around Makurdi town at the time of this report. Instead, it was like any other day in a new economy where cash crunchers hold sway. This year, traders who usually record improved sales have different stories altogether.
Today is very, very poor. And the crisis of this money, new and old money, we are finding it difficult to sell. Manage, but there is no sales. Hoping maybe tomorrow will be better than today. The matter of this old and new money, we are tired of it. The government to just realize and settle this issue once and for all. If we are using the old money, they should tell us we are using the old money. If you are using the new money, they should tell us that we are using the new money, because right now we are totally confused whether it's to accept the old one or the new one. In short, we don't know where we belong for now.
Some residents blame the situation on the ongoing cash crisis in the country.
And even doing transaction on mobile phones is as difficult as we experienced days back. So I don't think this Valentine will be as normal as we celebrated.
Cashless policy has actually affected the economy, especially on this Valentine Day. So many businesses are down because of this policy. Business don't moving because people don't have money to make transactions. So it has affected the celebration of this Valentine. So many people don't have the money to celebrate the event. So, and also, banks are not working. So to some extent, somebody will have money in his or her account, but to withdraw it will be a problem.
No, now the thing is, I believe it will actually affect, because getting gifts and cash and all, and people that actually do this stuff called is it money bouquet, so it will actually affect them a lot. Vow not a vow at all. Vow no vow. This year's vow is just, it's not Valentine.
As at the time of this report, some traders declined collecting the old denominations of the 200, 500 and 1,000 naira notes. With the unavailability of the new notes and poor network for internet banking, most of the residents said life has become unbearable and considered a feast of St. Valentine as a list of things to be worried about.
And on the foreign scene, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan says more than 8,000 people have been pulled out alive from the rubble in Turkey and expressed gratitude to all countries that came forward to provide support for the quakes. Reports say death toll from earthquakes have exceeded 37,000. Turkish authorities say 31,974 people have been killed in the country, while according to the UN and the Syrian government, more than 5,800 people are dead in Syria. Syrian President al-Assad agrees to let the UN deliver aid to rebel-held parts of northwest Syria through 2 more border crossings from Turkey. The UN's decision to seek al-Assad's permission has sparked criticism from the White Helmets Rescue Group. Still on the foreign scene, Equatorial Guinea has confirmed its first outbreak of the Marburg virus, a highly infectious and deadly disease similar to Ebola, following the death of at least 9 people. The small Central African country quarantined more than 200 people and restricted movement last week in its Kentem province after detecting an unknown hemorrhagic fever. Neighboring Cameroon also restricted movement along its border over concerns about the contagion. WHO Regional Director for Africa, Matshidiso Moeti, in a statement lauded the rapid and decisive action by the Equatorial Guinean authorities to confirming the disease, as emergency response can get to full steam quickly. WHO said in addition to the 9 deaths, Equatorial Guinea has reported 16 suspected cases of Marburg virus with symptoms including fever, fatigue, and blood-stained vomit and diarrhea. And finally, in sports, Nigeria's Flying Eagles and Zambia's Young Chipolopolo are now set to play on Saturday the draw ceremony for this year's Africa Under-17 Cup of Nations, which will hold Wednesday at Cercle National d'Armée in Algiers, Algeria. Five-time world champions, Nigeria is one of the 12 countries whose names will go into the pot for the draw as all participating teams get to know their group phase opponents for the tournament scheduled for April 8 to 30 in Africa's largest nation by land mass. And with that, we've come to the end of Trust News Update. Don't forget to follow us across all our social media platforms. I'm Darshan Hussaina Usman. Thanks for watching.